But yeah, let's go ahead and watch The Prophet. I'm very interested to see how they draw this. And I think this is quite unnecessary, but heavy spoiler alerts. Not because we are watching the animatics, for those people who haven't watched it yet, but with the Song of the Prophet Tiresias, there will be spoilers about Act 2. So, yeah, I will be mentioning all of them once we get to the music discussion. So, let's go on ahead and meet Tiresias. Bum, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Simena. This might be the second or third time you've seen them. All of the timelines. And OD looks so tired. I'll help you get home, but that's not a word I know. What? I see a song of past romance. I see the sacrifice. Oh, why? That's how they're drawing it. Yes, I like this visualization a lot. And we actually see Odysseus. This can be. And he's clearly agitated. Nice. Who had long believed you're dead? I see your wife with a man who is haunting. A man with a trail of bodies. Ooh! I see a song of past romance. I see the sacrifice. Nice organs. I see portrayals of betrayal and a brother's final stand. Oh, the subs. Ah, shit, I got distracted by the subs on top. Why does Tiresias look so cool? I love the colors. Does the eyes open? Yes. That's not the way I imagined it. Considering the next song, I thought over here, like when it fades to black, his like monster eyes will open. Oh, that is so cool. But this was awesome. I love Tiresias' design here. The previous animator drew him with long hair, but over here it's slightly shorter. Well, a lot shorter, but for guys it's still kinda long. But the blindfolds are still over his eyes. And then this representation of him kind of seeing all of the timelines. I think I heard about Tiresias' backstory. Shit, I don't remember the details. Which means it is time for me again. I am back. So, regarding the story of Tiresias, mainly he is known for being blind and for being a prophet. There are two main stories. I only heard about one. Now that I'm researching, I'm seeing two and quite possibly more, but I will just focus on these two for now. One of it involves Athena, and the other one involves Zeus and Hera, which is the version that I heard of. Regarding the one with Athena, Tiresias seems to have just, happened to go to some kind of spring to quench his thirst because he was climbing somewhere in like a mountain. But unfortunately for him, when he went down to that spring, Athena and his mother Chariclo, who also happens to be one of Athena's favorite nymphs, they had just so happened to decide to also bathe in that same spring. And since Tiresias accidentally saw a naked Athena, by divine laws, his eyesight was taken away from him. And now, obviously, Chariclo was angry and sad at the whole thing and, started confronting Athena about it. But it was not that Athena, took his eyesight out of anger or anything like that, but it was, like I said, a divine law. No mortal can witness a god or goddess without their consent. And since Athena didn't, explicitly give consent to Tiresias seeing her, he went blind. And so, because it was kind of like an unintentional thing on both sides, Athena made him a prophet and, gave him all the fame of being a prophet and all of that stuff. So that was the first story. In the other story that I know about, and I did kind of mention it in the VOD, but I might as well make a clearer kind of version of it. So in this case, Tiresias happened to come across two snakes copulating. And then, because he didn't like seeing that, he decided to kind of break it up and harm the snakes in the process. And Hera didn't like that. So, as a punishment for him, Hera turns Tiresias into a woman. He ends up spending the next 7 years, well, she technically ends up spending the next 7 years as a priestess of Hera, and in the process of that, she also ends up giving birth to a child and all of that. And at the end of the 7th year, Tiresias ends up coming across the mating of two snakes again, and this time decides not to, fuck around and find out. And thanks to that, he was freed from that punishment and got returned back into a man. Now, the reason that this part is relevant is because a couple of years after that, Zeus and Hera were having a couple argument, specifically regarding whether men or women find more enjoyment in the act of making love. And Tiresias, being the the unique person of having been both and likely having experienced the acts of passion between both men and women, they came down to him and made him the mediator of the argument that they were having. With this, Tiresias ends up answering that women enjoys it more. And because Hera was saying that men would enjoy it more, she didn't like his answer, and now she blinds him instead of turning him into a woman. But because Zeus placed his bets on women enjoying it more, he was happy with Tiresias' answer, and from there, ended up giving Tiresias the gift of prophecy and a very long life. And so, either way, we end up with the famous blind prophet of Tiresias. So this is really cool because I guess it's quite a common imagination, interpretation of timelines, how we have a lot of parallel timelines and how each of those timelines also have many different branches depending on the small little differences between each of them. So drawing it like this is really, really nice. And yeah, just look at how tired Odysseus is with the eye bags because he has been traveling through the underworld this whole time, right? And there's no definitive timeline as far as I'm aware of how long he spent in the underworld before he finds Tiresias. So it could be days, which it could be hours, could be days. And with all of those screaming souls and reminder of the past and all of his actions thus far in the Odyssey, it takes a toll. So I'm glad that they are drawing him being tired over here. Also, the Tiresias turn his head like 180 degrees. So he's facing here, and his body doesn't turn at all. Now then it turns. I'm just kind of pointing that out. I know that's not what the animator wanted to depict there. I know. And here, some of past romance. But at least, well, I guess in the animation, Odysseus also sees it. This is clearly him with the stubble. Although, I guess if we're talking about a past romance, he probably wouldn't have this stubble. But it is a different animator, so I guess their imaginations would be different. The sacrifice of men with the headband over here, that's clearly Polites. But I don't think that's what this line is talking about. But I will get into that later on. Everybody has a different interpretation. So I think differently, but this is what was this, Ximena? This is what they think, and I respect that. Trails of betrayal land. And this is a future song, which again I will mention. The Brink of Death. I quite clearly point this out also. Should I talk about this now? I guess might as well. This is a future song where Odysseus does come close to death. At least as far as I am picturing it. And in that song, a lot of different voices come in. We will get there eventually. I'm really glad that Ximena here drew all of these hands, because in that scene he really was close to dying, and he starts hearing all of these voices, which you can easily picture as like his soul being dragged down with them. So I very, very much appreciate this visual of it. Make it home alive. And we see Odysseus. It's no longer you. And kind of interesting, he has a cloak here, but Tiresias also has a cloak. Just going by this image alone. Oh god. Just going by this image alone, it almost looks like it's Tiresias looking at him, but because of the positioning, he disappears and then Tiresias is looking at him. That's really cool. Aha! I like how this flash also coincides with the piano. With da 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 da. And as you'll see, we see the Cyclops, and I believe it's Poseidon in the other flash. This can be. Dun 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 dun. So that was really cool. We see Polyphemus again, and I believe this would be Poseidon because that was the other encounter that killed his crew, which is why he's kind of remembering Poseidon with this kind of evil look almost. Although, I guess I don't really imagine Poseidon killing his crew to be evil. He's just, taking revenge, really. But anyway. Aha, and covered in red. I like, and I believe that's for like the rest of this. Well, almost. Yeah, I thought it was the rest of this encounter that it would be red. Faces of men who are from Ithaca also. And look at how haunting their faces are. And then also Penelope. It's nice that Odysseus gets to see this also, physically see it. And is this all of their memory? I guess it's like them dancing around. And the subtitles here also. I don't really understand why portrayals is highlighted here in brown. Is that Eurylochus's color? Hold on. I need to see this. It is. No, that's the crew. Oh, that's even worse. Wait, hold on. Where is... oops. I didn't mean to click. The sacrifice is black. Portrayals is brown. But in luck runs out. Eurylochus is more purple. So that means it's the crew. Because it's a little bit small. Maybe we can find a better thumbnail for it. Yeah, the crew. The crew is also brown. I see what the subtitles are doing. Politis is yellow. So we have that. I will talk about it in the music part. And then brother is in purple. Oh, okay. Okay, I like that. Ondo, it's also in purple. That's not Poseidon's color, is it? Yeah, Poseidon is a deep blue. Curious. And then yeah, this part up here. Is this in Greek? It's clearly not English because initially I thought it might have been like a reverse, like it might have been written in English but then flipped around and mirrored. But no, this is clearly not English. So considering that this is a Greek mythology, I assume this is in Greek. And this, oh look, this might be my favorite frame so far. I almost want a screenshot of this. Oh, and the flash of all the souls below. Yeah, all the souls below trying to grab him, and then he falls. Aha! And it turns red here also. Was there something? Did I see an eyeball? Oh no, that's water. But yeah, that was really, really nice. So, music wise, I have rambled on a lot about the animatics. The music is going to take even longer because, like I mentioned at the very beginning of this part, the entire song spoils pretty much all of the events in Act 2. Remember, the Underworld Saga is the end of Act 1, which means there's going to be a huge shift in it's like kind of the cliffhanger almost to get you hooked onto it even more before we continue on the story and show you like the climax and all. So yes, I am going to talk about the every spoiler, at least all of it that I know. And again, the choir coming in. I was gonna mention that it was interesting that because Tiresias is supposed to be immortal, but then he gets non-diegetic choir. But I'm gonna say that it's because of the souls around. So it is diegetic choir. Just it's from the souls, not from the crew or any other mortal. And then we get like a waltz kind of rhythm. Prophet with the answers you seek. And there's something that I quickly want to point out over here. A part of me does wonder how is it that Tiresias is able to speak directly to Odysseus, because it may not have been so obvious, but in the previous song, The Underworld, it was kind of loosely established that the dead and the living do not interact. But over here, Tiresias is clearly speaking to Odysseus, not even just because, like, thanks to the visuals of the animatic, the whole song is Tiresias speaking with Odysseus, really. But I wonder if that is because of his gift of prophecy. Even though Tiresias isn't technically able to converse with Odysseus, but thanks to his gift of prophecy, he already knows how this interaction goes and, you know, is able to basically speak to Odysseus, because I assume that he knows Odysseus is here, what he's gonna ask, what answers he wants, because, you know, clearly Odysseus hasn't asked him anything and Tiresias just goes on a monologue already. So yeah, I wonder if that's the case. Anyway. Time, I've unlocked it. I see past and future. Yeah, I see past and future. So I assume that he already sees all of this. And again, I'm going to point out once again the piano. I am keeping all of it in mind, and I will point it out every single time until I get to that one song. I help you get home, but that's not the world I know. What? I see a song. And I think this will be like the one song where we do lyric breakdowns. So number one, I see a song of past romance. Again, I will emphasize on this. Spoilers, because I am talking about pretty much all of Act 2. So, a song of past romance. The most glaring thing over here, past romance, since we are talking about Odysseus, definitely is talking about Odysseus and Penelope. But why song? Because immediately after we get out of the underworld, we are going to encounter sirens, whose main thing is their singing and luring the seamen into the waters with their songs. I see the sacrifice of men. I pointed this out earlier. How the animator decided to put polities here. For me, I see this as Scylla, because that is really the only time when sacrifice is very evident. I think that in the case of Polites, that was just an unexpected death. Odysseus wasn't actually planning on sacrificing anyone back in Polyphemus' cave. So personally, I don't agree with this, but to each their own. So yeah, sacrifice of men, Scylla. I see portrayals of betrayal and the brothers' final stand. Mutiny, which is also a future song that we will get into soon. And now I am not sure if we are gonna get into it at all in this stream. But yes, portrayals of betrayal and a brother's final stand. Technically, the betrayal is kind of a double, because for one, it could also be talking about Odysseus effectively betraying his men by not telling them about Scylla and what's gonna happen there, and like his plan of sacrificing people, because this crew is entrusting their lives to him, and trusting that he's gonna get them all home safely, but he effectively breaks that trust by willingly sacrificing them. So that's a betrayal. And then the other betrayal is the clearer one of the mutiny between the men and Odysseus. And then here, a brother's final stand, it would be Eurylochus. And this almost has like a triple meaning. The obvious ones would be, number one, like a brother in arms kind of thing. They did go to a 10-year-long war, and at this point, at least in Epic, it has been about 12 years. So they have been quote-unquote in battle together for a long time. So brother in arms, number one. Number two, brother could also just be a very casual way of a casual yet somewhat intimate way of guys calling out to each other. And the last one that some people might not get without context is Eurylochus is almost quite literally Odysseus' brother. Specifically his brother-in-law, because Eurylochus is married to Odysseus' sister. So they are legally brothers. Not biologically, but legally. So this phrase of brother's final stand kind of has a triple meaning there. I see you on the brink of death. Like I mentioned earlier, there will be a future song where he basically almost dies. And I'm just gonna say it right now, that is in the Vengeance Saga, when he meets Poseidon again. He does almost die, at least that's my imagination. I don't know how the animator is gonna draw it, but yes, he does almost die there. And I see you draw your final breath. I think this is a little bit more metaphorical, because Odysseus can't die, not in this story, otherwise there wouldn't be a story. But for me, I see this as in that same scene where he almost dies, Tiresias over here says that he sees Odysseus draw his final breath, and I take that to mean that that is kind of his breaking point, almost. Because in the next few lines, right? In the next line, and we see in the animatic also, I see a man who gets to make it home alive, but it is no longer you. clearly saying that Odysseus is going to be a different man. So for me, I take that line of drawing your final breath to be that kind of breaking point for Odysseus, where the Odysseus we know right now dies and turns into the monster that we will know him as. That's my interpretation of it. And the strings and the brass coming in also. Just nice. We also pause on Poseidon here. The brass coming back in, which back in the Ocean Saga, I believe I've made a little bit of a note of saying that, at least in my mind, the brass is associated with the ocean in general. And so it's kind of hinting at Poseidon being part of all of this, like at least this part of the this half of the song and this half of the prophecy. This can't be. We've suffered and sailed through the toughest of hells. Now you tell us our efforts for nothing. And yeah, hear how the instruments kind of spiral downwards. Da 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 da. Yeah, I just noticed that, and I really like it. It's kind of just making us hear how Odysseus is basically losing it, being super stressed out being here and all of that. His whole mental is spiraling downwards. We've suffered and sailed through the toughest of hells. Now you tell us our efforts for nothing. I see your palace covered in red, faces of men who had long believed you're dead. I am so excited for this one, because this is also one of my top 5 songs, easily. This is talking about the slaughter of the suitors, when Odysseus does go back to Ithaca, because of course he does in this story. That has to happen. He will end up killing all of the suitors, and we will find out why. I will not go into like super details right now, because this is supposed to be like a vague prophecy, and so yeah, I'm just pointing out this part is talking about the slaughter of the suitors. And then I see your wife with a man who is haunting. And again, a man with a trail of bodies, because what did I just say? The slaughter of the suitors. And a man who is haunting, because Odysseus is going to be a changed man. So yeah, again, the entirety of this song is just spoiling all of Act 2. And I have been looking up like some reactions to Epic the Musical also, because again, I'm super fixated on all of this, but I have specifically looked for those who are just listening, which there aren't many really, but there are some people who get kind of confused here with why Odysseus is screaming who, even though for us it is, even for those of us who don't know the story, it should be kind of obvious that Tiresias is saying that the man with the trail of bodies is Odysseus. But I imagine that with all of the stress, all of the tension, and basically being told vaguely that you are gonna die, Odysseus kind of loses his rationality and logical thinking here and just goes very emotional. The thought of Penelope being with another man clearly angers him, and he just doesn't realize that the man is him. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out for some reason, but yeah.
I see a song of past romance.
And then the organs come in. And again, we get the chorus. I see a song of past romance. I see the sacrifice of man. I like that the subtitles are kind of hinting for us as well, if we have paid attention to the colors. But yeah, as I've said, we have mentioned the siren, we have mentioned Scylla, and we have mentioned the slaughter of the mutiny and also the slaughter of the suitors. And now here, I mean, the lyrics before this were a little bit more vague, but here, with the choir in the back, they are a bit less subtle. I see a siren song, Scylla throat, mutiny, lightning bolt, purple cider, kill all the suitors for love. Yeah, the choir in the back has spoiled all of Act 2. Siren song, like we have mentioned, they are going to encounter the sirens. Scylla throat, talking about the encounter with Scylla and how she is going to eat a couple of people. And then mutiny, which again was part of the chorus as well. The portrayal of betrayal and the brother's final stand. And then the next one wasn't part of the choir part, lightning bolt, which we are also about to see. This is kind of vague enough, but also a little bit obvious. It's kind of tiptoeing the line really well, but we are going to encounter Zeus for some reason that we don't know of yet at this point, right? But yeah, lightning bolt, very commonly associated with Zeus. We are going to encounter him. We will find out why. And then we have mutiny, lightning bolt. Then hurt Poseidon. We are going to meet Poseidon again. And then after that, we have kill all the suitors for love, which we mentioned earlier, the slaughter of the suitors. And I believe this is all in chronological order also. So it's not like they kind of jumbled it up, but they are laying out the events for the whole of Act 2. You meet the sirens, you're going to meet Scylla, you're going to experience a mutiny, you'll face Zeus, and then you have to fight Poseidon, and then you have to kill all of your suitors back in your homeland. So yeah, and that one more thing. There's one more thing that the choir sings over here, and I will listen to that first. Over here. Now, well, might as well let the instruments finish. So yes, just listening, it is very, very vague. But if we look at the lyrics in Spotify, the choirs are saying, Odysseus, which, what I hear, and if you remember from the previous song, well, I think I pressed the wrong note. Eh? Yeah, I don't know the last two, but we have the danger motif, number one, which is what the choirs are singing. And then, according to Jorge himself, that is supposed to be a direct prophecy to what we will hear during the slaughter of the suitors. But for me, what I hear is, so we have mentioned how the lyrics are saying Odysseus, basically the Greek pronunciation of Odysseus' name. But listen to how kind of slurred it is. And what I hear, even before I noticed that this was the danger motif also, is over here, all the way back in Survive. Ifamos. Notice how they are pronouncing it here also. Polyphemus. Notice how similar that is to Odysseus. So first off, Polyphemus, Polyphemus, and then Odysseus, Odysseus. And for me, I am so geeked about this. What I hear is that the choir is deliberately kind of blending the pronunciation of these two names together, because for one, they are very, very similar in pronunciation, so it's very easy to mix them. And what I took that to mean is, this is the point where Odysseus starts becoming a monster, because Polyphemus is their first real monster encounter. And I was losing my fucking shit when I noticed that. But yeah, that's how I took it. That the choir here is sort of hinting that Odysseus is slowly turning into a monster because of the slurred pronunciation. We have Jorge saying that this is a direct relation to what we are going to hear in one of the last songs. And also, the brass in the background also. Again, the brass is related to the ocean, as we have established also in the previous song. Was it the previous? I think so. I don't remember. I've talked too much. But yeah, the brass also kind of lets you know that the ocean is gonna be involved one way or another in this monster transformation, quote unquote transformation. And who do we relate the ocean to? Poseidon. So yeah, there's so much, and all of this just really makes No Longer You one of my top songs. Easily top 5, more than likely top 3, could even be top 2, really. Again, I'll do the ranking at the very end of this watch along, but yeah, all of this combined, right, just makes this song so much better. And it also really helps that the song itself is really my type of music that I listen to. But yeah, I love this song so much. it's like you cannot have this song without the entirety of Act 2 pretty much finalized. You know, I can only imagine how difficult it was to write this song, especially with the amount of details that Jorge puts into all of his songs throughout Epic. Like, any discrepancy here is going to affect the rest of the musical. Like, like keep in mind, we are only halfway through the musical. And this is supposed to be the prophecy of the rest of the story here. So if anything goes wrong here, Act 2 is the entirety of Act 2 is going to be affected. So yeah, again, I love this song so much. But I think I'm done rambling on with this song. I've taken way too much time. I can only imagine how long the video is gonna be. What, a full hour? Almost like 50 minutes. I still do have to edit it, but you know, it's gonna be a long one.